Now the news in full. Towards effective supervision and evaluation of delivery of expected outcomes by ministries, departments and agencies, massive growth and development of Ogun State, the current administration, through the recently created Government Delivery Unit, has developed a project management and evaluation dashboard for the governor to monitor their activities. This was made known at a press conference addressed by the Special Advisor to the State Governor on Government Delivery Unit, Mr. Lekon Onomusi, to highlight the goals, vision statement and achievements of the unit since creation. The event was held at the conference room of the unit, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Matthew Shoumi now reports.
The Government Delivery Unit was set up by the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, through an executive order on the 17th December 2020. This followed the desire to manage the discourse and gaps between government-proposed projects and activities across all ministries, departments and agencies. The unit is to monitor, evaluate and report delivery of expected outcomes of these ministries and government agencies, while taking high responsibility for all state government economic programs and projects.
Our job here is to look at the government's initiative, economic programs, their projects, and to see that how do we, in support and working together with the promoting MDAs, how do we steer this intention from intention to actualization. We go through each stage of that cycle. For example, if we are constructing the road from Shagam to Abeokuta, prior to the construction of the road, we will recognize that we used to experience a lot of accidents along those roads. Now we've done a lot of enhancing and expansion stabilization program on that road. We will go back in there to look at it. What is the accident ratio since when this job is complete?
Special Advisor to Ogun State Governor and Head of Government Delivery Units, Mr. Lekon Onomusi, said in approaching the task, the unit is expected to design, develop and implement frameworks around needed project goals and harness the activities of all project stakeholders from inception through planning, execution and delivery, while highlighting project risk and ensure adequate monitoring safeguards were in place. Mr. Onomusi revealed that the mission statement was to increase delivery outcomes for all government economic programs, initiatives and projects for the benefit and interest of all residents and citizenry of Ogun State, while the goals are to develop a modern state infrastructure fit for purpose based on resourcing and initiatives.
We are going to be working with technical experts. We are going to be working with subject matter experts. We are going to be planning our work around the Ishaya mantras. The reason why we'll be doing that is because we want to be able to be sure that we are reaching each and every expected developmental pillars.
There was a question and answer session where further explanations were provided on the activities and goals of the units. Matthew Shoumi, OGTV News.
Into the story, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has said that the Yoruba culture must be promoted adequately, especially among the young ones. He stated this in his address at the presentation and launching of Yoruba World Center held at the University of Ibadan. Professor Osinbajo said there was need to use culture to maintain Nigeria's space in the world, adding that the country must also draw strength from our cultural heritage, while saying that the World Yoruba Center should serve as a destination for mission of discovery and promote global link between the Yoruba people in the diaspora. He expressed optimism that the center would locate itself in the emergence of creative economy. The Vice President, however, commended the architecture of the program for the sacrifice put together, calling on others to join hands with him towards promoting art and culture in the country. In his address, the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, said his government was passionate about the cultural heritage of Yoruba land, which the state was part of, and will do everything possible to preserve it. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, Engineer Noimot Salako Ojidele, added that the Yorubas, as one of the richest cultural heritages in the world, while applauding the initiative, Governor Abiodun admonished sons and daughters of Yoruba land to continue to uphold the heritage which is now struggling to survive westernization as the decades go by. Broadcast journalists in the country have been advised to avoid sensationalism in their reports and also stop to misinform the public, as major conflicts recorded in the country in recent times emanated from the medium not regulating well what goes out of the channels. This came to fore at a broadcast summit organized by the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) in Lagos. Bumi Adigun was part of the summit and he completes the reports.
Over 150 participants of broadcasters, industry veterans, seasoned news and current affairs presenters across the nation converged on the Lagos Commercial News Center of Nigeria to engage on issues as it affects their practice. It was put together by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, and the topic, conflict reporting and imperatives of professionalism. Director General of the Commission, Balarabe Shehu Yela, set the ball rolling by saying the Commission has been a good regulator, but the broadcast stations were not cooperating.
The practitioners must always be conscious of their responsibility to the public and reporting issues that will create fear, anxiety, hate, and crisis must be avoided.
Two guest speakers, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, former Acting Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, using the NSAS protest as an example, said the broadcast journalists were not helpful during the crisis.
We are yet to find the actual figures regarding the NSAS deaths during the NSAS campaign. Some people at that time said it was 200, others said 300. On many of the stations that I monitored, the semantics kept evolving. They said killings, massacres, right? And as we speak, in spite of the work of that panel, there is no accurate report. So why don't we go on the levels of assumption, rather than to be conclusive about the facts and figures when they are not truly established? What do you gain when you hurry to publish inaccuracies or things that could be manipulated, especially when they border on national security?
General Manager of the National Theatre, Professor Sonny Udodu, enjoined broadcast journalists to help the governments as what most stations shun out as media contents could set the country on fire.
Oftentimes see headlines. You rush to buy paper, when you read it, it's empty, vacuous. It does not reflect the headline, as it is said. Free access to instruments of information dissemination. So the age of technology is here. Social media have democratized information dissemination, so much so that anyone with so-called smartphone can make a broadcast.
A hot argument ensued during the question and answer session as media handlers alleged that the government was not giving them a conducive working environment and the welfare of these journalists not well taken care.
You give room for fake reporting, fake news, and biased reporting. And I feel that if this environment is truly conducive, journalists will do due diligence to what we're saying.
The summit is an annual event, and this edition, the 5th in the series. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
And coming from Abuja, as the federal government awaits the Lagos State government's white paper on the NSO's Judicial Panel of Inquiry report, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says it is disheartening that the report as submitted contains errors, discrepancies, innuendos, and claimed facts that are unsubstantiated. Flanked by the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Malam Yakubu Mohammed, and Special Assistant to the President on Media, Office of the Minister of Information and Culture, Segun Adeyemi, Lai Mohammed dismissed contents of the report, saying the panel's report falls short of its mandate to investigate the Lekki Tollgate allegations.
That report is nothing but the triumph of fake news and intimidation of a silent majority by a vociferous lynch mob.
In the face of this, some commentators have hailed the report, but some courageous ones, he said, have described it as disgraceful.
A refusal to be cowed by the rapidly lynch mob that has been screaming blue water since the report was released.
Pointing out key issues that clearly expose discrepancies, errors, and omissions, Lai Mohammed said the report omitted the testimony of a ballistic expert who testified before it and gave a professional explanation to what caliber of arms were used, which made it obvious that firearms were locally fabricated weapons. The panel's report, Lai Mohammed again pointed out, also contradicted itself in the testimony of forensic pathologist Professor John Obafua on the number of deaths and those who sustained injuries. Most intriguing, the minister pointed out, was the evidence of a man who counted 11 dead bodies in a black military van where he was left to die before he escaped, was found to be crucial by the panel, but he never testified in person. Another intriguing aspect of the report was that a man who reported seeing the dead body of his brother himself ended up being on the list of the panel's deceased persons. Inconsistencies in the way the police were said to have cleared the Lekki toll gate equally cast some doubt on the report, Lai Mohammed maintained. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Mr. Clem Agba, said the federal government had spent 2.3 trillion naira as stimulus package to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Agba said this at a 3-day 4th National Treasury workshop organized by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation in Uyo. The theme of the workshop is COVID-19 and the global economy, implications on Nigeria's national treasury. He said these interventions created a large number of jobs, empowered farmers and entrepreneurs, conserved foreign exchange, and provided guaranteed offtake of output, especially in agriculture and housing. The minister added that in spite of the COVID-19 challenges, Nigeria was still the largest economy and most populous in Africa. Agba said the federal government would continue to provide the enabling environment for businesses to thrive in the country. He said the President Muhammad Buhari's administration was committed to attracting and supporting foreign direct investment and partnerships in Nigeria. And still to come in the news, Senate 6 increment in core members' allowances. We'll bring you the details when we return. Don't go away. Thanks so much for joining us in part 2 of the news. Reactions are still trailing the death of Itunu Babalola, a 23-year-old Nigerian who died in Côte d'Ivoire prisons while proving her innocence. The incident occurred on Sunday, 14th November 2021. Itunu was said to have taken ill not long after she was jailed and thereafter taken to prison hospital, where tests revealed she had an infection. Adefora Adesonwo reports.
Somebody burgled her apartment
and she reported at the police station, and it was discovered that the 19-year-old boy was a nephew of the DPO of that area. Of course, they promised to settle her one way or the other, but she said, what you are giving me is not enough, and she wanted to go further. But somehow, the kind of that Nigerian we have to deal with her came up, and she ended up having an infection in custody and passed on.
Mr. Ola Animashaun, a public affairs analyst, providing an insight into the death of the 23-year-old Itunu Babalola, who died Sunday, 14th November 2021. She was said to have been charged to court, and the prosecutor, in collaboration with the police, allegedly compromised the case, and her charge was changed to human trafficking.
To me, if it is not natural, I know government will do something, because the country where the person died, we also not want to saw the relationship existing between that country and Nigeria.
There are a lot of lessons from the death of Itunu Babalola.
You in Nigeria, you are even better off than us. So if people can make that comparison, they will know that staying here is better.
We have to first make sure our country is well fortified and is well placed in such a way that our citizens will stay back and do what they have to do here.
Although there is nothing wrong for people to travel abroad for greener pastures, with concerted effort by the leadership and followership of the nation, Nigeria has what it takes to sustain its citizenry.
For our youths, most of them who are starters, who are unable to get white-collar job, of course, government cannot employ everybody, but one way or the other, there should be a kind of cushioning effect, soft landing that prepares the environment for them to do the needful if they want to be on their own. And at the end of the day, they will end up generating more opportunities for the government in terms of tax returns.
The youth, the government, and the well-to-do in the society need to be more patriotic, as no sacrifice will be too much to save Nigeria from the precipice.
We have the National Orientation Agency. They should take it as part of what they should be telling people, what they should be telling, even those that are literate. I have colleagues who traveled, and they were sent back. Of course, they were lucky, and they were even thanking God today that, thank God, they sent me back, because they know what they have made.
I think it's a good idea that they have a pool, a kind of cooperative effort, so to say, where everybody comes together as a group of youth. We want to do this, maybe into fish farming, have a kind of large expanse of swampy pond, maybe into handicraft and whatever as a pool. But the government must also be willing to assist. They can't do it on their own.
Indeed, no matter what people may say, home they say remains the best.
With that report we've just watched, now joining us in the studio is Mr. Shino Adefolao, a civil society activist. Good evening and welcome to OGTV News.
Thank you so much. My pleasure being on the program.
From the experience of Itunu Babalola in the Ivorian prison, what do you make of this kind of plight Nigerians face on the foreign land?
Well, thank you so much. Interestingly, the issue of migration is part of the problem of globalization. And of course, everybody, especially the youths, they want to leave the shores of the country due to the pressure from home to look for greener pastures abroad. But unfortunately, the experience has always been that most of our youths, and of course, a certain number of people that wanted to travel outside the shores of Nigeria, did not deem it fit, one, to migrate regularly. And of course, when they get to their place of stay outside the country, they are faced with problem of discrimination. They are faced with problem of getting good job. And so, coming back to the case of Itunu Babalola that we are talking about, it's quite unfortunate that that young lady of 21 years will just die like that in Côte d'Ivoire, in the case, because it is a complicated case. There are issues around the identity. There are issues around her, being maltreated, having served 2 years out of either 10 or 20 years jail term, only to discover at the end of the day that he was wrongly jailed for human trafficking. But then, a lot needs to be said that for our youth, and of course to government too, yes, certain measures have been put in place. Well, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission is also trying to do its best to ensure that Nigerians across the globe are given the best of treatment in terms of labor, in terms of rights to dignity of human persons as clearly exemplified in the African Charter on the People and Human Rights, with specific reference to Articles 2 and 3 that talks about how people of African descent should be treated wherever they found themselves. Unfortunately, this aspect of that charter is not being respected, and of course, that is what is giving Nigerians problem across anywhere they find themselves. The issue of South Africa is there, where we have xenophobic attacks. The issue of Ghana is also there, where we have indigenes who also always assume that yes, Nigerians have come around to take over their jobs, and of course, they don't want to give them that opportunity to carry out their legitimate businesses. Okay.
Mr. Adefola, with what you have just said now, do you think the federal government should take a stronger stand against things like this, or Nigerians involved are on their own?
Well, if you are saying Nigerians should be on their own, that would be unfair. Unfair in that everybody is trying to look for a way to fend for better living. And of course, all these things we are saying again, if we look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, specifically goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that talks about end to hunger, end to poverty. I mean, there also goal 3 that also talks about health and well-being of human beings across the globe. We also have the one that talks about education. We also have goal 5 that talks about gender equality. Invariably, if we look at goals 1 to 5 of the UN SDGs, this is what is serving as the push factors for Nigerians to move outside the shores. So in a way, Nigerians are going. They are not really going if the home itself have all the necessary infrastructure. The degree of Nigerians yearning to go, to move outside, will be reduced. Yes, migration is a normal issue. It's normal in every context of it. It is an economic interest. And of course, we should also not forget that based on statistics available in terms of remittances back to Nigeria, it is on record that about 25 billion US dollars is being remitted annually by Nigerians working over. And so this alone represents about 6% of the GDP to the nation. So if you are saying, if you are looking at all these statistics that we are coming about, then we cannot really say Nigerians should not move. But when they want to move, they should move in a regular way that will facilitate respect wherever they find themselves.
You belong to the society.
Yeah.
What should be your role in all of this?
Well, as a member of the society, role not only of me alone, but of every other actor, as parents, as educators, as media person, is that we need to enlighten Nigerians on proper migration. Yes, going out for economic venture, going out for health and so on, but then where the snag is there that this person has not migrated in a proper way, then that kind of a person is tend to face embarrassment, harassment in the place.
Mr. Adefola, we have a few minutes left, but before you leave, this kind of experience, some people say it's avoidable provided conditions of living back home are generally good. What's your own opinion in a few minutes?
Well, there's no controversy about that. Just as what Yorubas will say in an adage, that what you are looking for in Sokoto State is right there in your pocket. So where all these facilities are here, we have good health, we have good job, we have facilities, then if people have to move, the degree will be minimal.
Okay, then to this last question, should there also be an international regulation or law against this?
Well, it is not as if should there be. There are international regulations against movement of persons. So, and to that extent, it is the awareness of all these laws and regulations that we need to extend to our people to guide their movement.
Okay. Mr. Shino Adifolawo, thanks so much for coming. We sincerely appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
it's
you
my
very
pleasure
much.
being on the program.
Okay. That was Mr. Shino Adifolawo, a civil society activist who spoke on Itunu Babalola's case, who died in a Ivorian prison. The news continues shortly. I'll be back. The news continues now. Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun has expressed his condolences to the family of late Senator Binga Aluko, government and the entire people of Ekiti State over the passing of the Senator. Aluko, a leader of All Progressives Congress APC in Ekiti State, died on Saturday at the age of 58. Governor Abiodun, in a statement by his chief press secretary Kunle Shomori, described Aluko's death as shocking and a great loss, not only to Ekiti, but Nigeria. He described the late senator as a consummate politician, exemplary leader, and epitome of selfless service who served his people diligently. He further noted that the late senator dedicated his lifetime to the growth and development of his town, Ekiti, and the entire Ekiti state in general. Abiodun added that the Progressives family will miss the astute politics of Aluko, as well as his support for grassroots participation in governance, while urging his associates, family members, and the government of Ekiti to take solace in the fact that the late senator lived a life of service. The governor prayed God granting eternal rest and give his immediate family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed satisfaction with the level of implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act so far and urged the newly inaugurated regulatory agencies to ensure that Nigeria and Nigerians derive maximum benefits from the critical economic sector. He said this in an audience with the chief executives of the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, as well as his upstream counterpart, Binga Akomolafe. Back home now, Ogun State House of Assembly has acknowledged the receipt of the state governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun's correspondence seeking the confirmation of Commissioner for Justice designate Mr. Oluwashino Olanrewaju Ogungbade. The Assembly Speaker, Right Honorable Lakunle Oluomo, read the governor's letter before other lawmakers during the plenary session held at the Assembly's complex to Kemoson, Abeokuta. Correspondent Kola Wuliosho reports that the Speaker also invited the Commissioner designate to appear before the committee of the whole House for screening on Wednesday, 23rd November at noon. Details of his report are presented in this package.
Sequel to the resignation of the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Bolahon Adeniran, the Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Lakunle Oluomo, read Governor Dapo Abiodun's correspondence at the plenary seeking the confirmation of Mr. Oluwashino Olanrewaju Ogungbade as the new State Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General.
I use this opportunity to invite the Commissioner nominee, Mr. Oluwashino Olanrewaju Ogungbade, appear before the House Committee of Votes tomorrow, Wednesday, 24th by 12 noon. So
In another development, the Assembly passed a resolution directing the Director General, Bureau of Lands and Survey, to instruct the State Surveyor General to immediately commence the execution of proper delineation of the excised Ake village as ordered by Otumba Gbenga Daniel's administration in the accession letter issued on the 11th of February 2011 to the Baale in Council of Ake village. The passage of the Assembly's resolution followed the presentation of the report of the House Committee on Justice, Ethics and Public Petition chaired by Honorable Solomon Osho, who later moved the motion for its adoption, seconded by Honorable Damilola Shoneye and supported by the whole House through a voice vote. The Assembly equally recommended that the DG Lands and Survey report back to the House immediately when the formal action has been taken accordingly, stating that a truth-finding commission set up by the previous administration had recommended a review of the accession, while no evidence of any review or appeal of the accession letter existed till date. The resolution followed a petition received by the Assembly dated August 9, 2021, from Olusegun Adeniyi and Co., written on behalf of Pastor Eze Ogbonnaya Eze, Mr. Samuel Ogundairo, and Destiny Recovery Ministry International against the officials of the State Housing Corporation on allegation of trespass and abuse of office, among others.
The chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ogun State has been described as a true leader, very accommodating and humble. Top government officials in the state gave this cockade of Chief Yemi Sanusi on the celebration of his 68th birthday celebration. Tunde Olanero reports.
Chief Yemi Sanusi was the caretaker chairman of the All Progressives Congress in the run-up to the 2019 general elections. A few weeks ago, he was unanimously elected as the chairman of the party. For the chairman of the ruling APC, 23rd of November every year allows him to celebrate. The day kicked off with prayers. Expectedly, top politicians of the APC stock flocked the residence of Chief Yemi Sanusi, eulogizing his person.
He has been a very humble man, gentle, and he's a good leader. We are privileged to have a leader who is selfless, who is loyal, who is committed, and is a lovable man, a man that is committed to the party, loyal, and he wants the party to grow and succeed.
The Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Tokunbo Talabi, and the Chief of Staff to the Ogun State Governor, Alhaji Shuaib Afolabi Salisu, have this to say about the celebrant.
And I think that he has a way of tolerating different opinions and different ideas. On a birthday like this, we can only wish him well. We pray for him that God will give him many more years.
One thing you could say about this man is a very, very loyal, committed, dedicated, sincere, honest man. He's unlike your typical politician that people will say you cannot rely on. This man is a quintessential politician.
As far as the celebrant is concerned, God is to be praised.
When I wake up in the morning every day, I thank God for the grace, for the support. So I will continue to thank God for my life.
The highlight of the celebration was the cutting of cake and presentation by the children of Odeda Local Government Primary School, Obantoko. Tunde Olaniro, OGTV News.
The Senate Committee on Sports and Youth Development has advocated an increment in the daily feeding allowance of the National Youth Service Corps members from its current 600 naira per person to 1,000 naira. Chairman of the committee, Obinna Ogba, made the appeal on Tuesday while presenting his panel report on the 2022 budget to the Appropriations Committee. The Senate Committee on Interior had last month increased the daily feeding allowance of the Nigerian Correctional Services inmates from 450 naira per person to a minimum of 1,000 naira per day. Ogba said it was appalling that the prisoners' ration was higher than the NYSC members who are serving the nation. The lawmaker also lamented that the budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Youth and Sports was grossly inadequate. Up next is business news.
You're welcome to the business segment of the news. Senate has reaffirmed its commitment to pass the 2022 budget on the 14th of December 2021 before embarking on its Christmas and New Year holidays. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, at Tuesday's plenary announced that Wednesday, 24th November 2021 is the last day for subcommittee's defense on budget report before the Senate Committee on Appropriations. He noted that the National Assembly is committed to sustaining the January to December budget cycle, which has been in place for 2 years now.
Tomorrow, no matter what, we have to conclude with the budget defense by the subcommittees before the Committee on Appropriations. And it is very important, in fact, it is very, very essential that we keep to our timetable. Otherwise, we may run into a very serious problem with our time for the budget to be considered and passed by the 14th of December. I'm sure that our committees will be able to appear before the Committee on Appropriations.
Senator Rochas Okorocha drew the attention of the Senate to what he described as high level of insecurity in Imo State, especially kidnapping and arson. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has left the monetary policy rate unchanged at 11.5%. The CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele disclosed this after the committee's two-day meeting in Abuja today. Other parameters left unchanged are the cash reserve ratio and liquidity ratio at 27.5% and 30% respectively. Announcing the committee's decision, Emefiele said the MPC believes that the existing parameters have supported the gross recovery and should be allowed to continue for a little longer for consolidation to achieve the committee's mandate of price stability conducive for growth. The federal government has disbursed 56.84 billion naira to 835,161 beneficiaries under the MSME Survivor Fund scheme. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Evelyn Ngige, disclosed this at the opening of the 13th meeting of the National Council on Industry, Trade and Investment in Abeokuta. She said the scheme was tagged at strengthening ordinary Nigerians and reducing the poverty index to the nearest minimum. The summit had as theme micro, small and medium enterprises development in Nigeria, the roles of stakeholders. The World Bank has raised its 2021 and 2022 economic growth forecast for Nigeria to 2.7% and 2.8% respectively. The bank disclosed this on Tuesday in the latest edition of its Nigeria Development Update. In the June 2021 edition of the NDU, the World Bank projected a growth rate of 1.8% in 2021 and 2.1% in 2022. However, the World Bank has projected an upward review of the Nigerian economy in the new edition. According to the new report, the Nigerian economy has experienced a rebound that is faster than expected. The National Vice President of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Adeokuta Kayode, has said Nigeria is ready to do business with Russia to boost its economy. Kayode also called on Russia to assist Nigeria towards resuscitating the AJAOKUTA steel rolling mill to expedite the country's industrialization. He made the appeal while addressing a delegation of Russian companies' chief executive officers during their visit to the office of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, in Abuja. And that's the end of the business news tonight on the news. Many thanks for watching. Back to Bukola for the segment of the news.